Since it's the 500th anniversary of the Reformation, I heard a sermon on the brutality of Queen Mary I of England and her suppression of heretical bishops and lay people. The talk was given by a Presbyterian pastor.
I'll bet.
And he mentioned how many Protestants were martyred for their faith. He also stated that the Reformation brought people back to the faith of the apostles. Doesn't the church condemn such persecutions as carried out by Bloody Mary?
Wow. Okay, well, for starters, where does one begin? As your brother would say, if you accept my premises, my conclusions are easy. Unfortunately, I don't accept his premises.
What are the premises?
The premise that the Reformation restored the apostolic faith. It did no such thing. It created a new and bizarre and peculiar one. It invented a new Christ for itself, which to this day it idolizes. The thing you have to understand is that the Reformation was a revolution, just like the Russian or the French. In bringing it about, in making Protestants, in ripping England and Scandinavia and northern Germany and other places away from the faith, hundreds and thousands of people were killed. The pilgrimage of grace in the north of England, the risings in the north and west of England, in Sweden, all over the country, or all over northern Europe, peasants rose to defend their ancient religion and were slaughtered in droves. Henry VIII himself, the father of Queen Mary, murdered any number of Catholics, including St. Thomas More. Queen Mary, when she came to the throne, before she came to the throne, they attempted to replace her with a usurper lady called Lady Jane Grey. This failed.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the people who were invested in keeping England Protestant supported her. That's called treason. What happens to treason, or to the people who perform it in this country today?
They get killed.
Yeah, they do. Very, very nice. So awful. I don't shed a tear for the people that Queen Mary dealt with, because she had been on the receiving end. And these were the people who had broken the apple cart, not the other way around. You know, if I come up and I punch you, okay?
Okay.
And then you punch me back harder, and I go flying. Okay, I went flying, but I punched you in the first place. And you've got to remember that, as St. Augustine tells us, or asks us, who is worse, the murderer who kills the body or the heretic who kills the soul? I would recommend, for a proper discussion of this, rather than going on this way, I would recommend that you read a book called Characters of the Inquisition by William Thomas Walsh.
That's a big book. That's a very famous book.
It's a very famous book. It's an important book. The other thing you've got to bear in mind, too, is that in those days, religious belief was, of course, bound up with loyalty to the state. Just as today, belief in gender fluidity is bound up with loyalty to the state. And if you don't, you're a bigot and a hater. And if you say, certain words, you'll be destroyed professionally. Well, every society has an orthodoxy, and if you deviate from that orthodoxy, you will be punished. It's the nature of it. Why? Because every society wants to protect itself. Now, the difference between one society and another is that one society is based on truth, and another is based upon lies. But if you're willing to speak the truth in a society based upon lies, you will be treated poorly, and you just have to accept that.
Let's go on a little tangent, because you talked a little bit about Reformation. There's a war when it comes to language. Liberals, they use political correctness.
Yeah.
I believe reading Puritan's Empire, I don't think you ever called the Protestant Reformation the Reformation.
No, I
It's
didn't.
the Protestant
The
Revolt.
Protestant Revolt, which is what it was.
It is a revolt. They didn't reform anything.
No.
And so I salute all you people out there who call it Protestant Revolt, because that's what it was.
And see, there's another thing, too, for that Presbyterian minister. How can he speak of the apostolic faith when no two Protestant sects agree on basic doctrines? You see, the only thing they agreed on was that everyone had the right to decide for himself what was true in terms of religion, unless they disagreed with the other person, in which case they could be beaten to a pulp. That's why the Protestants put to death not just Catholics, although they killed a lot of us, but also other Protestants. Even in our own country, the Congregationalists in Massachusetts, the Pilgrim Fathers we were just celebrating at Thanksgiving, they put to death Baptists and Quakers, not just witches.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a little bit of our history we don't know.
Yeah.
So, and as far as the Presbyterians go, don't get me started on what the Scots Presbyterians did to Catholics. Starting with their rightful queen, Mary Queen of Scots. Don't get me started on the Covenanters. Don't do that.